Hi, I'm Craig, and I help veterans go from feeling stuck and unseen after service to living with confidence, connection, and purpose so that they can thrive in civilian life and relationships. Hey, vets and families, how's it going? It's Craig again, and I'm here with another video to help you win success on your VA claim. Listen, before I get into today's video, I want to ask you a very kind favor. If you would like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share the content with other veterans and other families who you know will benefit from this content. You'll be really glad that you did. And I also want to say that all throughout this video, I'll be mentioning 5 free PDF guides that I have for you that will help you navigate the process of your claim, help you get as much success as possible while you're submitting your VA claim. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. Today we're going to talk about claimant's right to representation. Okay, and one of the things that this may engender for you in your mind is VSOs, accredited agents, and attorneys. Yes, we're going to talk about those today. And we're also going to talk about power of attorney, what it means and what it doesn't mean. So let's get into the video and continue on with our presentation. So a VA representation, this is just a clear definition. It means being formally authorized to act on a claimant's behalf within the VA system, not just being supportive or helpful. That's going to be very important as we move ahead, because there are only certain people that will learn who are able to represent you in front of the VA for official hearings and official claim right advocacy. So this right protects you and ensures someone qualified can help you prepare, present, and prosecute your claim before the VA. We talked about in another video how VSOs and accredited agents go through a long process of training. I dropped a link in one of my previous videos about the hours, the continuing education that's required for people to be authorized claim agents and representations on behalf of veterans before the VA. And so this is a right that they work under, and it ensures that somebody is qualified to help you with your VA claim. Should you have to go in front of a judge or in front of someone who's adjudicating your claim, typically a judge. If you're going to go to the Board of Veterans Appeals, it could be a high VA official. If you're going under another board, say a higher level review. Now let's look at 3.103, procedural due process and other rights. Every claimant, and this is important, this is a statement of policy from the VA right out of 38 CFR. Every claimant has the right to written notice of the decision made on his or her claim, the right to a hearing, and the right of representation. The proceedings before the VA are ex parte in nature. Ex parte means that the VA doesn't have to stand there with you in order to help you with your claim, but they do have a right to give you representation for your claim. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And it is the obligation of the VA to assist the claimant in developing the facts pertinent. You see that part there? The facts pertinent to the claim, and to render a decision which grants every benefit that can be supported in law while protecting the interest of the government. The VA must help you to develop the facts pertinent to your claim. It doesn't mean that the responsibility is not yours. It means that the VA does shoulder a level of responsibility to ensure you have the documentation so that you can defend your claim at whatever board or hearing that you might be in front of. Okay, so that's really important. Ex parte, VA has to help you. They don't have to be present or provide attorneys or anything like that on your behalf. If they did that, they'd have to be doing it for so many other veterans. They wouldn't be able to do it. All right, so let's take some time to define what VA representation is. VA representation is something that has to have a clear definition in order for us to take advantage of it and make sure that it's in the most efficient way as possible. So VA representation means being formally authorized to act on the claimant's behalf with the VA system. Think about this. This is not just someone who was supportive or helpful to you. VA representation has a lot more to do with, think of it as legal representation. Just like if you're going to court, like for a lot of these things, a higher level review or the Board of Veterans Appeals or any appeal board or hearing that you're going to, you want to be represented by someone who knows what they're doing, right? And who is qualified to represent you in that case. So think of the think of VA representation as the same way. It's not just a supportive or helpful individual, although they can be supportive and helpful and be an advocate for you outside of the hearing process. But it really is about someone who's authorized legally and ethically to act on your behalf with the VA system. Now, listen, having a state power of attorney does not give someone VA authority. You have to understand the differences between these two sort of agencies or organizations. You've got the VA is a federal organization here, and then you've got the state power of attorney. So having something that's defined or determined by the state doesn't give federal reciprocity to anyone who is representing you. So that's something important to note. And a personal organization must be recognized and accredited by the VA in order to represent you. And their paperwork has to be up to snuff. They have to be recognized by the VA in order to stand with you at your hearing, stand with you at your reviews, stand with you on any appeal process that you're going through. Got to be authorized by the VA. State POA does not equal representation, and state laws allow people to give others powers of attorney. Now, POA is power of attorney for financial or legal decisions, but that does not automatically transfer to the federal VA system, and we talked about that. You got your federal system here, and then you have your state system here. That does not translate. Two different agencies, two different hierarchies. In fact, the VA explicitly states that state POAs don't count as VA representation unless that individual is accredited through the VA's Office of General Counsel. This is crucial when appointing someone to help with your VA disability, claim, or appeal. And I've done videos before, and this is where we get back to this whole issue of VA claim companies who claim to be accredited and those who are not accredited. What they offer is to give you strategies and different tools or resources that will help you win your claim. And some of them are able to do that. But it's important to note that they cannot represent you if you have a due process claim with the VA or if you have to go to a hearing. I've done a video about that, about VA due process, and also it's one of my 5 free PDF guides that I'm offering. So if you look at the description link, get that PDF guide. It tells you when you should even go up to higher level review beyond supplemental claim. And it also talks a lot about who can represent you there and the different forms and things of that nature that need to be in place, and the different documentation that you must have when you go up for a review. So when you appoint somebody, make sure that they're authorized and valid to represent you. Who can that be? This is knowledge that a lot of veterans know, like just generally speaking, but I don't think veterans actually understand what positions these folks hold. So there's 3 recognized groups. One of the groups is VSOs, Veteran Service Organization reps, like the DAV, VFW, and American Legion. Now, understand something. It's not just that somebody who is part of the VSO who knows how to do claims real good. It has to be somebody who is a member of that VSO and is an accredited Veteran Service Organization rep and has done the training to represent you before the VA. It's really that simple. They got to be trained. They got to be qualified. They got to be accredited to represent. I'll put it to you this way. There's a list of a few, and I'll provide a link in the description of the video. There's a list of VSO reps that are in accredited agents and attorneys. There's a list of them. The VA provides that electronic list of everybody in every state who can authorize and represent you. And if they're not on that list, even though they might belong to one of these veteran service organizations, they can't represent you before the VA if they haven't been properly vetted and trained. So VA-accredited attorneys can represent you, and VA-accredited claim agents can represent you. It's interesting, VA-accredited attorneys. I would say this, there's probably some training that that attorneys take in order to be VA accredited. There's probably some kind of formal training. But what you really want is you want a good lawyer who is good at veteran law and military law. If you're going to hire an attorney to represent you and to adjudicate your case, you want to make sure that their specialization in law tailors to that. And then VA-accredited claims agents. Now, VA-accredited claims agents could be state employees. They could be employees of various organizations in the city. It just means that they've taken that training and they're able to represent you before the VA, just like everybody else has to take that training. All three must be accredited by the Office of General Counsel and must submit the proper forms. This is VA Form 21 TAC 22 for VSOs, VA Form 21 TAC 22 Alpha for attorneys or claims agents, and non-licensed individuals like a family member or friend may be allowed to help, but only in one-time situations with written VA approved. Listen, this is important. This is important. And remember what I'm talking about. I'm talking about representation in front of the VA. I'm not talking about somebody helping you put together your claim. I think that's perfectly fine. Every veteran has the autonomy to be able to allow somebody to assist them, right? In these different laws and stuff. That's kind of what we do on this channel. We walk you through what these forms mean. We walk you through what these specific terms mean in VA. Because the average veteran is not familiar with those terms, is not familiar with the forms that they need to fill out. That's why a lot of veterans don't submit their claims, because they're just not familiar with the legal jargon and the contract jargon and some of the other jargon that the VA has. And some of these documents, 38 CFR, M21-1, a lot of veterans aren't familiar with that jargon. And so it's perfectly fine for somebody to walk you through that. Okay. But remember, if they're not licensed, it can't be a family member. It can't be a friend. It can't be one of these VA claim companies. I don't care what they tell you. If they're not accredited, right now, there are some VA claim companies. I ran up on one yesterday. I actually, stumbled upon one yesterday that are actually accredited agents, but they run a company, right? If they're accredited agents, and listen, I know I'm taking a lot of time on this, but this is important. They have to be on that list. They have to be recognized by the VA to perform that work in order to be able to represent you. Okay. This ain't somebody who's like, oh, I used to be an accredited agent. I don't do it no more. I'm not on the VA's list anymore. I didn't get recertified. No, you want somebody who's actually certified to do that claim, to help you with your compensation claim. All right. Now, this part here where it says one-time situations with written VA approval, most people are not going to go through that because most people don't want to stand up there and represent you at any kind of hearing, because most are not prepared to do so. Hear me out. Most people are not prepared to do so. This is going to knock your socks off. Even some trained, vetted, and authorized accredited agents and VSOs don't feel prepared to do so. All right. Now, listen, that was free. Just to do with that information what you will. But they can do that if they go through the vetting process, right? And they send you do all the documentation for the VA, and then they do it on a one-time basis. And this is probably case by case. So that's the important information to know about that. Let's talk about limited versus unlimited representation. There are two types of representation. Limited applies only to specific claims. Unlimited applies to all future claims unless revoked. Okay. Unless that power is revoked, then it's unlimited who can represent you. All right. VA Form 21-22 or 21-22 Alpha must clearly state the scope of representation. And you have to always double check what you signed when it comes to this. Okay. VA Form 21-22, this is how it looks. I, the claimant, hereby appoint the service organization named in item 15 as my representative to prepare, present, and prosecute my claim for any and all benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs based on the service of the veteran named in item 1. I authorize the VA to release any and all of my records. This is why I said make sure you read what you sign, to include disclosure of my federal tax information. Aha. Other than as provided in items 19 and 20 to my appointed service organization. I understand that my appointed representative will not charge any fee or compensation for service rendered pursuant to this appointment. I understand that the service organization I appointed as my rep may revoke this appointment at any time. Generally speaking, every veteran who submitted a claim has a rep. Now, I've told you my story about having the VFW be my rep. In fact, my story is in one of the free PDF guides that I have that I'll make available throughout this video and at the end in the description as well. But the VFW definitely took credit for my claim as my VSO organization that's listed. It used to be eBenefits, now it's just VA.gov. Everybody has a VA representation, VA representative, authorized VA representative on their claim who's handling it and the organization that they represent. So it'll say something like sometimes it's like, the state of Virginia VA something or whatever, and it'll have that, right? Because that's where that person works. Okay. And this is the form that they use to sign it. So that VSO took credit for doing one claim for the VFW or whatever. But as I said, most of that information, all of that information was done by me, right? But the VA requires or suggests that you have a VSO representative of some sort on your claim. VA Form 21-22 Alpha, appointment of individuals, claimants representative. Now, listen, this is when you want to do that, appoint an individual. An individual acting as representative under 38 CFR may not represent more than one claimant on a single claim. This is where the limited representation comes in at, unless exceptions to that limitation has been granted by the Department of Veterans Affairs. The appointment of the individual named authorizes that person to represent the individual named is for a particular claim. Hey, I'm doing a claim for my knee, and I want this individual to represent me because they have specific understanding about that particular claim pursuant to the provisions of 38 CFR. All right. And then they have to sign saying that no compensation will be charged or paid to that individual. You have to sign, the veteran has to sign stating that you won't pay anything to that individual. So that could be anybody. That could be somebody who just knows your claim well, right? If you want somebody else to represent you, please make sure they do this. They have to sign this form. They have to submit this form, and then they can go in and represent. They have to sign this form, be authorized and approved by the VA, and then they can represent you. All right? That you use this form for somebody who you just think might be knowledgeable, what have you, right? And they'll represent you, but they can't charge you money for it. That's the key. All right? Incompetent veterans and fiduciary appointments. Let's talk about that for a second. So if a veteran is found incompetent to manage VA funds, a fiduciary may be appointed. That fiduciary can be a person, VSO, or legal professional, and they must still be approved by the VA to act on the veteran's behalf for claims. So fiduciary appointments. When does representation end? It only ends under these circumstances when a new VA Form 21-22 or 2022 Alpha is submitted. The rep withdraws. So they could actually send a letter to the VA and say, I don't want to represent this person anymore. And if they withdraw in writing, then that representation will be removed under VA authorization guidelines. The claimant revokes representation. That means you, the veteran, can revoke their representation and say, I don't want to be represented by this person. The representative dies, and unfortunately, that person dies, or if the claimant, you, pass away. Those are the circumstances where representation ends. Very important that VA representation doesn't automatically transfer to survivors. Survivors must file their own claim and appoint a rep using their own 21-22 or 21-22 Alpha. I have worked with survivors before. None of them have authorized me to represent them at the VA because I did not want to take on that responsibility. If I ever do that, it will be me being not only intimately familiar, but legally familiar and ethically familiar with all the nuances of that person's claim, and realize, like, if I'm at a Board of Veterans Appeals or high level review, I want to be able to make sure that that person can win. And if there's somebody more qualified than me, I prefer them go with an attorney or an accredited agent who's more qualified, who knows VA regulation, who will know VA regulation more than me to represent at that claim. I would not want to put any kind of person in that particularly a survivor, someone who has lost their loved one and is trying to submit a claim. So here are my final thoughts. Understanding the difference between the state POA and VA representation can protect your benefits and make sure your claim is in the right hands. So remember, only somebody who is only one of those three categories: accredited agent, VSO, and attorney, right? An attorney, right? Law office. Only those three categories can represent you before the VA, right? If you're unsure whether your rep is accredited, I already put this link in here, which I said I was going to do. Check the Office of General Counsel's accreditation search tool. There it is, right there. I'll also put the link in the description as well. And here's a fun fact. There are around 40 VSO accredited claim reps in Chicago, Illinois. There are 65,000 veterans in the city of Chicago. This just gives you an idea of the lack of coverage for veterans, right? Now, this is not to say that all 65,000 of those veterans will submit or a claim, but it is to say that, there are not enough VSOs. This is the reason why there are companies that exist. This is the reason why there are YouTubers that exist. This is the reason why there are advocates that exist, because there are just too many veterans to handle the load of VA claims that come in. Listen, I hope this video was helpful to you in determining VA representation, the contours of it, and the proper representation for when you go for a higher level claim. Listen, if you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, share, comment, pass it along to other veterans who you know might benefit from the information. There's so much information out there about VA claims, VA-accredited agents, and who can represent who, and what a veteran advocate is, and so forth, right? I've got some really good resources for you. If you're trying to file your VA claim and you're stuck, you don't know what to do, you don't know what the next step is, you want information about nexus letters, you want information about evidence, you want information about documentation, let me help you with those 5 PDF guides. I'll link them in the description below, and they are yours for free to help you win your next VA claim. So I'm going to tell everybody what I always tell all my folks on every video is live royally and live well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.